it was a Christmas night like no other. In Monte Sereno, with its decorated streets and the sweet aroma of cinnamon and hot chocolate wafting through the air, the village felt like a magical place. The central square buzzed with life, lit up by a Christmas tree so tall that its lights danced in the windows of nearby houses. The villagers, with wide smiles and spontaneous laughter, shared traditional dishes and stories, while a local band played festive carols. Dona Aurora, the village matriarch, ruled over the celebration with her wooden spoon held high like a scepter, making sure everyone was well-fed and in good spirits. Meanwhile, the earthly celebration was being watched from a faraway place. A fleet of alien ships hovered just above the atmosphere. The Zorblaxians, highly intelligent beings from a planet ruled by logic and efficiency, had intercepted Earth's transmissions of light and sound but couldn't make sense of them. To them, the pulsating lights of the Christmas tree and the melodic carols seemed like an intergalactic ritual to activate a weapon. "They're obviously preparing something dangerous," said Xyler, the fleet commander, as he analyzed the signals with his team. "We must act before it's too late." Back on Earth, Miguel, a curious boy and amateur inventor, was tinkering with one of his improvised devices in the basement of his house. He was always fascinated by the starry sky and dreamed of traveling through space. That night, however, his attention was on the community dinner. "You're late, Miguel," his mother shouted from upstairs. Reluctantly, he put away his tools and ran toward the square, unaware that this night would forever change his view of the universe. At around 9 o'clock, as the celebration reached its peak, a strange, deep sound echoed through the skies. It was low and rhythmic, like a distorted melody that made the villagers pause for a moment. The children looked up, mesmerized, while the adults exchanged puzzled glances. "It must be some kind of joke," said Dona Aurora, shaking her head and resuming her preparations. The sound, however, persisted, and Miguel, ever observant, noticed an unusual light moving in the sky, heading toward the square. Suddenly, the air grew heavier, and a massive spacecraft descended slowly over Monte Sereno, bathing everything in green and blue lights. The villagers froze, their faces a mix of awe and fear. The ramp of the ship lowered, and a group of small green aliens stumbled out. Dressed in metallic suits with wide eyes, they glanced around as if trying to make sense of where they were. "What kind of prank is this now?" said Dona Aurora, already gripping her wooden spoon, ready to defend her celebration. However, the Zorblaxians didn't seem threatening, just clumsy and very confused. The aliens stepped off their ship with hesitant movements, glancing around like curious children in a new environment. They had greenish bodies, elongated heads, and metallic suits that reflected the shimmering lights of the Christmas tree. Each carried a small device emitting high-pitched sounds that were incomprehensible to the humans. The leader, Xyler, held a larger device that looked like a mix between a scanner and a translator, though it was clearly malfunctioning. The townspeople, still frozen in shock, kept their distance, while Dona Aurora, wielding her wooden spoon, stepped forward. "Who are you, and what do you want here?" she demanded, receiving no response. Xyler's wide eyes fixated on the giant tree. To him, the flashing lights and the bright star at the top were unmistakable, the core of a supposed weapon of mass destruction. He signaled to his companions and began emitting sounds in his native language, which resembled a melodic tune but with deep, ominous undertones. The villagers, still slightly giddy from the feast, thought it was some kind of artistic performance. "This is amazing!" exclaimed a child, clapping enthusiastically. However, Miguel, observing from a distance, noticed that the visitors didn't seem intent on making friends. One of the Zorblaxians, named Xyrix, approached the tree and began pulling on the lights. He tripped over a cord and fell hilariously, prompting laughter from the children. "They're clumsy, not dangerous," thought Miguel as he decided to intervene. He dashed back to his house, grabbed one of his inventions, a rudimentary translator he'd been building for months, and returned to the square. "Let me try to talk to them," he said, cautiously stepping forward. Xyler and the other aliens stared at him with suspicion but didn't react aggressively. Miguel adjusted his device, and after some static and interference, managed to pick up fragments of the alien language. Danger weapon, deactivate, the translator stammered, interpreting Xyler's words. Miguel's eyes widened. They think our Christmas tree is a weapon, he explained to the villagers, who burst into laughter. A weapon? It's just decoration, said Dona Aurora, shaking her head in disbelief. She then approached the aliens, hands on her hips, and said in a commanding tone, "If you want to understand what's going on, you'll have to sit down and listen." The aliens looked confused, but Dona Aurora's authoritative stance intimidated them enough to step back. Miguel seized the opportunity to demonstrate there was no threat. Picking up one of the lights Xyrex had knocked over, he explained with the help of his translator, "It's not a weapon. It's just decoration. Here, we use these to celebrate something called Christmas." Xyler tilted his head, trying to process the information. He pointed to the star atop the tree and asked, "Not Cor?" Miguel shook his head with a smile. "No, it's just for shining." Meanwhile, the children began tugging on the aliens to play. One of them offered a piece of panettone to Xyrex, who carefully analyzed it before taking a bite. His eyes lit up, and he began emitting sounds that resembled alien laughter. "They like panettone," shouted a little girl, breaking the tension. Gradually, the other villagers approached, eager to learn more about the visitors. Miguel realized this was the perfect moment to create a connection. "If they think Christmas is dangerous, we need to show them what it's really about," said Miguel, his eyes sparkling with excitement. He proposed putting on a presentation for the aliens to showcase the true spirit of the celebration. Dona Aurora immediately agreed. "Let's teach them our way." As the villagers began organizing songs and dances, Xyler watched with growing curiosity. Perhaps, after all, these humans weren't as threatening as he had imagined. With the aliens now calmer, the residents of Monte Sereno began organizing an impromptu presentation to show the visitors what Christmas was truly about. Miguel, brimming with contagious energy, led the children as they prepared festive costumes and decorations. Meanwhile, Dona Aurora took charge of the adults, ensuring everything was perfect. "If they're going to learn about Christmas, it's going to be done in style," she declared, waving her wooden spoon like a conductor's baton. As the preparations unfolded, Miguel attempted to establish deeper communication with Xyler. Using his makeshift translator, he explained the meaning behind some of the symbols. "The lights represent hope," he said, pointing to the tree's ornaments. "The star at the top is a guide, something that reminds us to look up and keep moving forward." Xyler listened intently but still appeared perplexed. "Hope guide," he repeated, as though the concepts were alien to him. "Yes," Miguel replied. "It's not something you can measure or touch. It's what we feel." The children, on the other hand, had no trouble connecting with the aliens. They taught them how to play with artificial snow, hang ornaments, and even sing snippets of Jingle Bells. Xyrex, ever the most curious, showed particular interest in the games. Using one of his devices, he created floating balls of light, which the children quickly incorporated into their play. "They're learning fast," one of the girls remarked as Xyrex laughed at his own clumsiness. The presentation began with the harmonious sound of Christmas carols, sung by the villagers. The children acted out the story of Christmas with simplicity and heart, using makeshift costumes and the tree as their stage. Xyler and his companions watched intently, clearly fascinated by the emotions emanating from the group. Miguel noticed something in Xyler's eyes, a genuine curiosity, as though he was beginning to grasp the significance of it all. "Is this celebration?" the alien asked through the translator. Miguel smiled. "Exactly. It's about being together, sharing moments." As the performance continued, Dona Aurora decided to take the experience to the next level. "If they want to understand Christmas, they need to try our food," she proclaimed. Leading a parade of traditional dishes, she offered everything from rabanadas to roasted turkey. The Zorblaxians cautiously sampled each dish but soon began emitting sounds of delight. "Delicious!" exclaimed Xyrex, drawing laughter and applause from the villagers. The barrier between humans and aliens seemed to dissolve with every bite. The most touching moment came when Xyler, still intrigued, picked up a piece of panettone and offered it to Miguel as a gesture of reciprocity. Sharing. Like you, he said hesitantly but sincerely. Miguel accepted with a wide grin. That's exactly it. Now you're starting to understand what Christmas means. The connection was formed, and the other aliens followed Xyler's lead, offering food and even some of their technological gadgets as symbolic gifts. The celebration reached new heights of unity when the Zorblaxians decided to repay the hospitality in their own unique way. Xyler activated a small device that projected three-dimensional holograms into the sky. Suddenly, the square was bathed in images of stars, planets, and nebulas, creating a breathtaking visual spectacle. "This is our gift to you," Xyler said, as the villagers cheered enthusiastically. It was a genuine exchange of cultures, a moment neither group would ever forget. As the aliens became increasingly integrated into the celebration, Xyler began to experience something he had never felt before. The emotion of being among people who connect not out of obligation, but by choice. He observed humans laughing, sharing stories and food, and felt a strange curiosity about what made those interactions so meaningful. "On our planet, everything is functional," he said to Miguel, using the translator. "There's no this." He gestured vaguely toward the square, still trying to find the right words. Miguel nodded, recognizing the alien's internal struggle. "Maybe you need this more than you realize," Miguel replied. However, not all the townsfolk were entirely convinced of the Zorblaxians' good intentions. A group of adults, gathered near the dinner tables, began whispering among themselves. "What if this is a trap? They could be studying our weaknesses," one suggested. The comment sparked murmurs of agreement. Donna Aurora, overhearing the conversation, immediately intervened. "Weak? I'll show them we're not weak," she declared, marching toward the group of aliens. But when she arrived, she found Xyrix helping the children adjust the lights on the tree with one of his devices. He smiled at her, holding an ornament as if seeking approval. Donna Aurora sighed and lowered her wooden spoon. "Maybe they're not so bad after all," she admitted. Meanwhile, the Zorblaxians faced their own dilemmas. Xyrix, the youngest of the group, approached Xyler with a worried expression. "Why are we here? This isn't our mission," he said in their language, partially captured by Miguel's translator. Xyler hesitated before responding. "Because this matters. I can't explain why, but it does." He looked at the Christmas tree, now glowing brightly with lights restored by the aliens themselves. "Maybe we need to understand this before we go back." Miguel, overhearing the exchange, felt it was time to step in. "Xyler, Christmas is more than just a celebration. It's about what we carry with us after it's over. About being better together." Xyler, who had until then seen humans as strange and emotional beings, began to view them differently. He noticed that, despite all their differences, there was something universal in the way they sought connection. "Maybe we can learn from you," he said, reluctantly but sincerely. As these conversations unfolded, a low, ominous sound from the Zorblaxian mothership drew everyone's attention. Miguel rushed to Xyler, concerned. "What's happening now?" Xyler checked his portable console and frowned. "Overload in the ship's core. If we don't fix it, it will explode." Panic quickly spread among the townsfolk, but Miguel remained calm. "We can fix it together. Trust us." Xyler hesitated but realized he had no other choice. He and Miguel, along with a small group of townsfolk and aliens, began working on the problem. Using improvised tools and Miguel's creativity, they dismantled part of the ship system to find the fault. During the process, the Zorblaxians were impressed by human ingenuity. "You do so much with so little," Xyler commented, amazed. "And you have technologies we never imagined," Miguel replied, creating a moment of mutual respect. While the team worked frantically, Donna Aurora gathered the remaining townsfolk to sing an upbeat version of Silent Night, calming the children and easing the tension. Even under pressure, Miguel smiled as he heard the song. "This is what it's all about," he murmured as he made the final connection. Finally, the ominous sound ceased, and the ship's lights returned to normal. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief, and Xyler looked at Miguel with what seemed to be gratitude. You saved our ship, and something more. After the crisis with the spaceship was resolved, the atmosphere in Monte Sereno Square shifted dramatically. Fear and distrust gave way to a sense of relief and renewed celebration. The villagers applauded Miguel, Zyler, and everyone else who had worked together to save the ship. "If it weren't for you, we'd have lost more than just a Christmas dinner," said Dona Aurora, her voice filled with emotion. Zyler, on the other hand, seemed to be taking in everything around him with a mix of admiration and curiosity. "You act as a unit, even though you are so different from one another. It's fascinating," he remarked to Miguel. With the tension gone, the Zorblaxians decided to actively join the festivities. Xyrix, always the most enthusiastic, helped the children reorganize the decorations that had been knocked over during the earlier chaos. Using his holographic projector, he created brilliant ornaments that made the Christmas tree even more spectacular. "This is amazing," exclaimed one of the children, as Xyrix emitted a sound that Miguel interpreted as genuine laughter. For the first time, the aliens seemed to be having fun. Meanwhile, Zyler approached Miguel to discuss something more serious. "On our planet, we don't have celebrations like this. Everything we do is focused on efficiency and progress. But watching you all, I'm beginning to think we're missing something important." Miguel looked at the alien, recognizing the sincerity in his words. "Maybe what your world lacks is what we find here. The idea that not everything has to serve a logical purpose. Sometimes, sharing moments and emotions is what truly matters." This conversation inspired Miguel to propose something bold. "What if you brought Christmas to space? Not just as a celebration, but as a way to connect different species and planets." Zyler pondered the idea, and something about it seemed to resonate deeply with him. "Do you think it's possible that other forms of life would understand this?" Miguel grinned. "If you understood it, anyone can. And I'd love to help." As the two discussed their ideas, Dona Aurora, ever practical, decided to introduce the aliens to the tradition of Secret Santa. "If we're going to become intergalactic friends, we're doing this properly," she declared, handing out slips of paper to humans and aliens alike. The draw brought laughter and hilarious moments, especially when Xyrix picked his own name and had to exchange with another child. The gifts were small but full of meaning. Zyler gave Miguel a tiny device capable of projecting star maps, saying, "So you never stop looking at the stars." By the end of the night, Zyler made a surprising announcement. "We have decided. This will not be our last Christmas. We will take what we've learned here and spread it to other worlds." The villagers cheered at the decision, while Miguel felt immense pride. He knew that this moment wasn't just about Christmas. It was about something much bigger, the possibility of uniting cultures and worlds through something as simple and universal as the act of sharing. As a final gesture of thanks, the Zorblaxians activated one of their most advanced devices, creating a breathtaking light show in the sky. Glowing nebulas, pulsating stars, and spiraling galaxies danced above the square, leaving everyone in awe. "You gave us the spirit of Christmas. This is our gift to you," said Zyler. The villagers gazed upward, mesmerized, while Miguel whispered to himself, "This is just the beginning." With the bond between the townsfolk and the aliens stronger than ever, the celebration in Monte Sereno reached a level of joy and camaraderie never before experienced. Humans and Zorblaxians shared laughter and unforgettable moments as Christmas music echoed across the square. But the night's true highlight was about to unfold when Miguel had a brilliant idea. "What if we create something together? A combination of our cultures to symbolize this unique Christmas?" Zyler, intrigued, accepted the challenge. "Let's do it." Miguel and Zyler gathered humans and aliens around the Christmas tree. Using the Zorblaxians' advanced technology and the villagers' creativity, they began crafting something extraordinary. Holographic lights, floating ornaments, and starry projections transformed the tree into a living work of art, a perfect blend of the traditional and the futuristic. Children ran excitedly to hang the new decorations, while the aliens used their devices to fine-tune the intricate details. "I've never seen anything like this," said Dona Aurora, smiling proudly. During this collaborative effort, Zyler had a moment of introspection. He observed the humans interacting with the Zorblaxians as if they were old friends. "On our planet, this would be impossible," he said to Miguel. "Efficiency is everything, and emotional connection is seen as a distraction." Miguel replied with a phrase Xyler would never forget. "Sometimes, it's the things that don't make sense that make us more human, or more alive." With the tree completed, everyone gathered to admire the masterpiece. It seemed to pulse with life, emitting lights that changed color and intensity in sync with the music. "It's more than a tree," Xyler said. "It's a symbol of what we can achieve together." The entire square erupted in applause, and even the Zorblaxians, who had never experienced anything like it, joined in with enthusiasm. Miguel realized that something profound had changed, not just for the aliens but for the humans as well. The pinnacle of the celebration came when Xyler, inspired by the Christmas spirit, decided to share a tradition from his own planet. He activated a device that projected a holographic display of his home galaxy, complete with vibrant planets and shimmering stars. "In Zorblax, we believe that every star represents infinite potential. Perhaps tonight we can share that potential with you," he said. The display was so breathtaking that it brought tears to the eyes of many villagers. As everyone gazed at the holographic sky, Xyler turned to Miguel. "You have something special, something that can connect worlds. We would like you to consider traveling with us in the future to help spread the spirit of Christmas to other planets." Miguel, caught off guard, was speechless. Before he could respond, Dona Aurora chimed in with her warm yet firm tone. "He's still young, but one day he'll be ready. For now, he can start by washing the dishes from tonight's dinner." Everyone burst into laughter, including Xyler, who had come to understand a little of human humor. As the evening drew to a close, the Zorblaxians bid farewell with promises to return next Christmas. Before departing, they left a special gift, a device capable of illuminating Monte Sereno with lights visible from space. "This place will be a beacon for all who seek unity and hope," Xyler said. The spaceship took off, leaving behind a trail of radiant lights as the villagers waved and applauded, grateful for an unforgettable night. With the Zorblaxians' departure, the square of Monte Sereno returned to silence, but the glow they left in the hearts of the villagers remained. The enormous Christmas tree, now adorned with holographic lights and intergalactic ornaments, symbolized not only the spirit of Christmas but also the promise of something greater, a connection between worlds. Miguel, still gazing at the sky where the spaceship had disappeared, felt that his view of the universe had been forever changed. "We're not so different after all," he murmured, smiling. The next morning, Monte Sereno was abuzz with curiosity. Journalists, scientists, and onlookers from nearby villages flocked to hear about the magical night. Dona Aurora, wielding her wooden spoon, became the unofficial spokesperson of the story. "It was the most incredible Christmas dinner ever. Even the aliens learned how to do the dishes," she joked, recounting the details with enthusiasm. Miguel, however, remained more reserved, reflecting on what might come next. He knew that night was just the beginning of something far greater. The device left by the Zorblaxians, now installed in the center of the square, became the village's new pride and joy. Every night, it illuminated Monte Sereno with a light show that seemed to reach the stars. Visitors came from far and wide to witness the spectacle and hear the tale of how Christmas saved not just a dinner, but also an intergalactic encounter. "Monte Sereno is no longer just a village," said Dona Aurora proudly. "It's the heart of universal Christmas." Miguel, meanwhile, threw himself into new projects. Inspired by alien technology and the lessons of the previous night, he began creating devices designed to unite people, and perhaps one day worlds. On a quiet evening, as he adjusted a new prototype, he looked up at the sky and imagined what it would be like to visit the Zorblaxians again. He knew the opportunity would come when he was ready. For now, he was content to keep spreading the spirit of Christmas here on Earth. Year after year, Monte Sereno's Christmas dinner grew grander. Not only villagers but people from all over began attending, bringing their own traditions and stories. Christmas now held a broader meaning, transcending cultures, languages, and even species. And at the top of the tree, the star left by the Zorblaxians shone brighter than ever, a reminder that the true spirit of Christmas could reach even the most distant corners of the universe. As the lights of the square illuminated the night sky, Miguel whispered to himself, "This is just the beginning," and indeed it was. Somewhere among the stars, Xyler and his fleet were already planning their next Christmas. A celebration that would unite even more worlds, thanks to the small village of Monte Sereno and the magic of one unforgettable night.